Hi, my name is Janice Denise Brooks, and today you will be introduced to a performance starring myself. I'll be center stage presenting to you my physical, cognitive, and psychosocial domains of development over the course of my lifetime, starting from the first years of my life through adolescence. So sit back, relax, and enjoy your show. I was born on August 8th, 1996, to my mother Clara Brooks and father T.J. Presswood. I was born one of two. In other words, page 64 of the text states that my sister Janet and I are dizygotic twins, meaning we are fraternal. Our original due date was October 12th, 1996. As you can imagine, we were born prematurely. I am 1 minute older than my sister. I weighed 3 pounds and 2 ounces. After a month in the hospital, we were healthy enough to come home. On the bright side, I love the fact that we were able to start grade school earlier than we originally would have. Motor skills such as smiling, babbling, crawling, and walking were developed on time, as opposed to walking, which didn't start until some time after my first birthday. Cognitively, I focused on deliberately imitating sounds and gestures found on page 202. My mom said once she got my sister to stop crying, I'd start. Maybe we had some type of connection to make me subsequently imitate her. In the meantime, at 12 months, my love for waving bye-bye is referred to a conventional social gesture. Psychosocially, I develop precisely. The chart on page 219 states toddlers ranging from 12 to 18 months explore their environments using the people they are most attached to. My mom has never worked throughout my entire life, so she's always been around with her authoritative parenting. As a consequence of this, I did suffer from separation anxiety. I would wave at people, but going with them was a whole nother story. Page 224 demonstrates that I was a slow to warm up child. I'd adapt mildly but slowly to new people and situations. Even today, I'm not such a big fan of change. During early childhood, I got to discover my awesome gross and fine motor skills. 6 was the initial age of being accepted into the Boys and Girls Club. I was in every sport that was age appropriate. I can tell you that it was the time of my life. I can't count the number of friends I had besides my sister. I was in great health and an enormous weight range. Cognitively, as a child, my mom said I would express speech on behalf of my Barbie dolls. Now, I know it seems absurd, but in the very moment, I was associated with Piaget's immature aspects of pre-operational thought. To be specific, animism on page 277 of the text is the act of attributing life to objects that are not alive. At this time, I was enrolled in Thelma Smiley Moore's elementary school. Math was my favorite subject, so basic number sense, such as counting, number knowledge, and number patterns were all so much fun. Owing to the fact that I performed so well in school and had leadership quality, I later was placed in gifted programs. During this stage, life was gender-centered. Albert Bandura's social cognitive theory played a significant part. Page 312 states this theory is responsible for children learning gender roles through socialization. I was very much aware that there were differences between myself and boy classmates. At this time, I, along with friends at lunch, were in our "you can't sit with us mean girls" phase, because boys, of course, were gross. Now, let's progress to middle childhood. As a result of my primary teeth falling out at the age of 6, I had the opportunity to sing "All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth." As I aged, my motor skills continued to improve. Body image described as an outlook of what one believes about their appearance on page 345 never occurred to bother me. My physical and mental health were intact. I believe I felt most confident in myself in middle childhood. Furthermore, cognitively, moral reasoning was something every child struggled with. Though Piaget's rigid obedience to authority was definitely in place, my siblings say I was egocentristic. Page 364 states that egocentrism is the tendency to see things only from self's point of view. With that being said, I was quite stubborn. For the most part, I've grown out of that. As a learning tool, I've loved to create my own mnemonic devices. Page 367 refers to them as strategies to aid memory. Rehearsal, organization, and elaboration have assisted me greatly in moving information from my working to long-term memory throughout all subject matter. Though my parents were never married, it didn't hinder my participation in social relationships. Initially, I wasn't going to mention this, but I must say now I do struggle somewhat cognitively and psychosocially. With some of the endless characteristics of reactions to trauma on page 417. Because I was sexually molested from the age of 4 to about 16 years of age. Because my childhood was taken away from me, certain needs were not met, as Erik Erikson would say. Academically, I was resilient and thought I was doing the best thing not speaking up. Physically and emotionally, this class has taught me that the signs were there all along. I recently left a letter to my mom releasing that secret the day spring classes began this year. I was miserable that week, but I felt so much better afterwards. I'll be continuing counseling soon. Being a victim, I can be a better assistant and empathize with students who face what I once did. Continuing with adolescence, oh how I dreaded puberty, the process that leads to sexual maturity or fertility, as page 424 says. My twin sister started puberty early. However, I started at the age of 11, which was age appropriate. I was disgusted at first, but I eventually transitioned well. Physically, I became obese with the stress I was trying to cope with myself. Bullying also became relevant. At this point, I wasn't participating in any physical activity. Luckily, I wasn't one to adapt to peer pressure or have an interest in drugs. As I progressed into adolescence, cognitively, I created imaginary audiences, as David Elkin refers to on page 452. As an adolescent constructing an observer who doesn't exist with concerns about thoughts and actions non-compliant to them. Being hard on myself academically was my choice, and I strongly felt that others expected more from me because of the highly achieving lifestyle I set for myself. I would consider myself in level 3 of Kohlberg's theory of moral reasoning on page 455, which values the focus on what is considered to be done for the greater good. Psychosocially, during adolescence, because of my family's low economic status, I knew I had to continue being great. Despite my circumstances, I was able to graduate top of my class and become a first-generation college student. Criteria was also established for adulthood on page 502. Some criteria includes responsibility, avoiding crimes, establishing an adult relationship with parents, etc. I don't quite yet understand why I was given this particular journey, but I believe God gave me this life for a purpose. Although I'm not ready to say I'm thankful for my struggles, I know they have made me the strong and persevering person I am today. I enjoy much fun and laughter with family and friends, since most of my life has had to be so serious. Taking life one day at a time positively is the only way I know how. Life hasn't been easy, but I believe I've done quite well for myself. I can't wait to make the wish I've had for teaching come true. Thank you so much for bearing with me throughout my performance. I really hope you enjoyed your show.